This is the Harry Loomis Show.
Welcome back to the Harry Loomis Show. Right now, it is Monday, October 7th. I'm recording this at 11:14, the night before the NHL season gets going. In North America, we had two games in Prague this weekend with the Devils beating the Sabres. So for 30 of 32 teams, the NHL season starts on Tuesday. We got three games. ESPN's got a doubleheader with the Blues, Kraken, Bruins, Panthers, Chicago Blackhawks, and Utah having their first game. That's going to be the slate Tuesday night. Cannot wait for hockey to get back going. So, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do my award predictions, and I'm going to set my own ground rules. What I'm going to call them kind of hipster, off the grid picks. So, I'm going to limit myself. I can't pick the obvious guys. I can't pick Cale Makar for the Norris. I can't pick Connor McDavid for the Hart. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick guys that have not won the award before in their career, and they could not have been a finalist in 23-24. So, for example, the Vezina finalists last year were Connor Hellebuck, Thatcher Demko, and Sergei Bobrovsky, meaning that I cannot take any of those three guys, but I also can't take a guy like Igor Shesterkin or Linus Olmark because they are also former Vezina Trophy winners. Get it? Got it? Good. So we're going to just go through the list here. Art Ross is a little bit different, obviously, because it's not an award that there's a finalist. It's just the highest number. Obviously, Nikita Kucherov had the most points last year, so he won that automatically. So I'm gonna still stick to my rules. I can't pick him. I can't pick Connor McDavid, obviously, because he wins that just about every freaking year. If I didn't set my ground rules, it would probably be him that got this award. But I'm gonna go with Nathan MacKinnon. Just missed the Art Ross last year, 140 points he had. Nikita Kucherov beat him with 144. McKinnon, in my opinion, second best player in the league, and it's not particularly close, especially among forwards. I don't see any reason why, if he's not healthy, he's not going to have another monster season. I think the Avalanche are due for a little bit of a bounce back. They've kind of had a tough last 2 years since they won the Stanley Cup in 2022, getting bounced in the first round and bounced in the second round last year. I could see them being, I don't want to say a sleeper team, but I think if the pieces fall into place, they could be a very serious threat in the Western Conference once again. So that's going to be my pick. We're going to move over now to the Calder Trophy. And again, this one kind of, obviously, I can't even make a pick. I can't even really limit myself because obviously you're only eligible for the Calder Trophy once unless it's the COVID bubble. So really no limits to this one. I'm going to go with Matvey Michkov for the Flyers. I think if there were no issues, concerns with him playing in the KHL, he would have easily been the second overall pick last year and would have been NHL ready in 23-24. Another year for him to season. I think he is going to be an absolute stud pretty early on out of the gate. And I don't expect the Flyers to be a great team. I don't expect them to be in the playoff conversation like they were in last year. But I think some of these young guys, especially Michkov, are going to be really, really exciting to watch. So he's going to be my pick for the Calder Trophy. We're going to move on now to the Selke Trophy. Selke Trophy, for those that don't know, is the best defensive forward. I'm surprised they haven't already named it to the Patrice Bergeron Trophy because he won it so many times. Last year went to Alexander Barkov of the Florida Panthers. And I'm going to go a little bit off the grid here, but he's in a contract year, and I believe he finished second in this award. He was nominated for it in 22-23, but I'm going to go with Mitch Marner. Marner, it doesn't get quite enough credit for his defensive game, in my opinion. Obviously, there are some moments where he makes some mistakes. The David Pastrnak goal in Game 7 this past year was a pretty bad look, where it looks like he's kind of just gliding there, even though I don't really know if it was necessarily his man, but he didn't exactly look urgent trying to stop what would end up being the series winning goal, eliminating the Maple Leafs. But Marner plays a really solid 200-foot game, and the fact that he's in a contract here with Craig Berube now as head coach, I think some of that being instilled in him will propel him to a really good year and a pretty big payday come July 1st, 2025. So I'm going to take Marner to win the Selke Trophy. Honorable mention to Nico Hischier. I think Nico Hischier is a really good two-way forward as well. I could see him winning this award just as easily. Moving on now to the Norris Trophy. Last year went to Quinn Hughes. Finalists were Roman Yossi and Cale Makar. Obviously, I can't pick any of them because they've all won the award in the past. Same with fourth place finisher Adam Fox, sixth place finisher Victor Hedman. The highest finishing guy last year that I could take is Evan Bouchard, who finished in fifth, who's not a bad pick by any means. But I think the arguably the most underrated defenseman in the league is Miro Heiskanen. I've been a big fan of his game ever since he came into the league in 2018-19. He's a guy that you don't notice all the time, but that's because he's doing his job. He's preventing really good scoring opportunities, and he's just a really steady guy that any team would be super lucky to have. He's just the epitome of a reliable defenseman, and he also put up 54 points last year. So there's really no limits to Miro Heiskanen's game. I think he's going to be in for a career year this year, and I think he will be my pick for the Norris Trophy. We'll keep it going now over to the Vezina Trophy. Obviously, last year went to Connor Hellebuyck. He got his second. This is the example that I offered earlier. Thatcher Demko and Sergei Bobrovsky were the finalists, so I can't pick any of them. My pick is going to be a guy that recently just signed a big contract that got his potential successor shipped over to the Sharks. I'm going to take UC Saros. Saros has been a monster the past couple years. The Predators always seem to have really elite goaltending. Going from Pekka Rinne to UC Saros as a fan of a Central Division rival is just not fair. The Predators obviously went all in this offseason, getting guys like Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, Brady Shea. They are in it to win it this year, and I think they're going to be backstopped by a really strong Vezina winning season from UC Saros, the first of what could be many. The fact that he's only 28, he could be one of the top 5 goalies in the league for a good part of the next 6-7 years. I really think highly of UC Saros, and he's going to get his first Vezina Trophy in 2025, which leaves us now with, I believe, the only real trophy left is the Hart Trophy. I'm not going to do Jack Adams. I'm not going to do Lady Byng. Obviously, I'm not even sure how they quantify or anything like that, what the Lady Byng does. It just, according to Hockey Reference, it's just the player who, quote, exhibited the best type of sportsmanship and gentlemanly conduct combined with a high standard of playing ability, which is a really broad description of an award. But if you want to know, Jacob Slavin won it in 2024. Elias Pettersson was second. Austin Matthews third. Sure, good on them. It seems kind of hard to pick a guy for that. But if you want me to make a pick, just going down the list, we'll go with Brock Besser. We'll take Brock Besser coming back from the blood clot issue. Why not? We'll just take a flyer on someone. I think the Canucks will be good again this year. So Brock Besser, you'll win the Lady Byng this year. Moving on now, this is the big one, the Hart Trophy. Finalists last year, Nathan MacKinnon, Nikita Kucherov, Connor McDavid. Can't pick any of them because not only are they finalists, they've also all won the award before. Same with fourth place Austin Matthews. Same with Sidney Crosby. Those are the only guys that got votes of any kind last year that have won it in the past. So guys like Taylor Hall didn't get any votes. Not sure if there's anyone else off the top of my head. I don't really think there is. Oh, I guess Leon Draisaitl. Did Leon Draisaitl not get any Hart votes? He did not. Strange. Okay, well, it doesn't matter because I can't pick him anyway. I've got a pick in mind, and it really comes down to whether or not he's healthy. I think this is a 100-point player if he's able to play even 75 games. I think his offensive ability is that good. He's just gotten better and better year in and year out. Give me Jack Hughes. The Devils were obviously ravaged by injuries at the beginning of or throughout the season last year. Hughes was no exception. He was playing out of his mind before that injury in St. Louis and really couldn't stay healthy for the rest of the season after that. But obviously, there's a lot to like with the Devils here. Bringing in Sheldon Keefe, who knows how to win in the regular season. I'm going to keep saying it. Keefe wins regular season games. Whatever else you have to say about him, he's going to get you the best record you can in the regular season as long as, you stay healthy, which is a big thing with the Devils. But they brought in guys like Brett Pesce. They brought in Jacob Markstrom. They looked really good in Prague. Not sure if they look good. The Sabres look bad, but I liked what I saw out of the Devils, and I think Jack Hughes is going to be in for the best season of his career, and I think he could easily work himself into Hart conversation like the number 1 overall pick he was, like the bordering on a generational talent. Some were saying he was back his draft year. I think Jack Hughes is one of the best offensive players in the league, and he's going to put it all together this year. Wouldn't be surprised to see 50 goals. Wouldn't be surprised to see 100, 110 points if healthy. So that'll be my pick. So that's going to wrap those up. I gave you my standings a couple videos back on how I think every division is going to shake out. So I'm not going to do a full playoff bubble, but I'll tell you this. I think the 4 teams in the conference finals every year, with the 4-team realignment, it's been 1 team from each conference aside from the 2020 bubble and the 2021 playoffs, where obviously we had 2 Atlantic teams in the Stanley Cup final. Every other year, it's been 1 team from each division. You can look at the years 2013-14. It was Habs in the Atlantic, Rangers Metro, Blackhawks Central, Kings Pacific. Every single year, it's like this. Last year was no exception. You had the Panthers in the Atlantic. You had the Rangers again in the Metro. You had the Oilers in the Pacific, and you had the Stars in the Central. So my picks for each of those 4 divisions. In the Pacific, I'm going to go with the Vancouver Canucks. I think they get over the hump and get past the Oilers and make it to the conference finals. I know that's kind of a shocking pick. A lot of people have the Oilers winning the cup. And I got to tell you right now, I have no idea who I picked to win the cup. I think this year is about as wide open as it could possibly get. But that's going to be my pick. In the Central, I'm going to pick the Nashville Predators. I love what they did this offseason. If they're going to win it, this is going to be the year. Saros with a Vezina Trophy winning season, in my opinion. Andrew Brunette continuing to be a great coach. Barry Trotz continuing to make moves. Steven Stamkos turning back the clock. Jonathan Marchessault having a huge impact with guys like Philip Forsberg continuing to do their thing. Brady Shea helping out on the back end with a really solid D-core led by Roman Josi. I think they will at least make the conference finals. In the Atlantic Division, who could it be? I think you have to go with the Florida Panthers again. I know fatigue sets in after a while. Just look at the Tampa Bay Lightning, where they're at right now. But this team is absolutely built to win in the playoffs. You look at how they're set up. They've got skill. They've got defense. They've got a goaltender. They've got size. They've got that snarl. Everything you could ask for. Brian Burke's dream, basically, in a team. That's what the Florida Panthers are right now. I think they will get back to the conference finals pretty easily over the Bruins, over the Leafs, over whoever other wild card it could be in that division. In the Metropolitan, this might be the toughest one. I could see the Hurricanes, even though they had a tough offseason. We said the same thing with the Capitals in 2018. They're going to fall off. That year they end up winning the Cup. You could say the Rangers pretty easily. You could say the Devils, because I think they're going to bounce back if they stay healthy. That's a team that could easily go on a run and compete for a cup. I'm going to say the Devils. I'm going to be bold. I'm going to pick New Jersey. I don't think we're going to get a rematch of the conference finals. We almost got a rematch last year. The Hurricanes gave the Rangers all they can handle. We're not going to get Panthers Rangers 2.0. It's not going to turn into a Leafs Bruins situation. So I think we're going to get the Canucks, Predators, Panthers, and Devils competing in the conference finals, and that's all I'm going to give you. I don't even want to try to get into who I think is going to win the cup this year. This season is as wide open as it gets, and I just can't wait for the season to start. I'm going to hop back on here in just a moment to preview the St. Louis Blues this season. Now that the rosters are officially set, I got a lot of thoughts. I'm really curious to see how that season plays out, but can't wait for hockey season to get started. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be talking throughout the season, and we'll be back later. We'll talk again soon.
This is the Harry Loomis Show.
Happy 2024 Blues season opening day, ladies and gentlemen. We are finally back to Blues hockey later this afternoon, a 4:30 Eastern puck drop on ESPN against the Seattle Kraken to kick off this season. And right off the bat, I think there is more optimism for this season than there has been in a couple of years. Obviously, 2022, losing to the Colorado Avalanche, losing some big pieces, notably David Perron. Vibe felt a little bit off that year. Obviously, the season ended up being a disaster, losing guys like Tarasenko and O'Reilly. Then coming into 2023, not doing a lot in the offseason to try to bounce back from that, having lost those guys. Only addition was Kevin Hayes. And the team did better than expected. 92 points. They weren't good enough to have competed in the playoffs, even if they somehow got there. But this year, it feels like they took the necessary steps to at least try to get back into playoff contention. Getting guys like Dylan Holloway, Philip Broberg, Matthew Joseph, these aren't guys that are going to light the world on fire. Alexander Texier as well. But it's solid depth to help build around a pretty promising core. Robert Thomas, Jordan Kyrou, Pavel Buchnevich is not a bad core at all. You have a really solid goalie tandem. Jordan Bennington and Joel Hofer had really good years last year. The defense got better. Colton Parayko had a really good season last year, and it's still the weak point of the team, but I think it net gained in value, in ability in this offseason. So you have to credit Doug Armstrong and Alexander Steen for the work that they did trying to improve this team. We finally got the official opening day roster on the Blues Twitter account Monday afternoon. You can see it here. Alexander Texier, Braden Shen, Radek Faksa, Alexei Toropchenko, Robert Thomas, Jordan Kyrou, Nathan Walker, Kasperi Kapanen, Jake Neighbors, Matthew Joseph, Dylan Holloway, and Pavel Buchnevich are the forwards. On defense, Nick Leddy, Philip Broberg, Ryan Suter, Scott Perunovich, Matthew Kessel, Colton Parayko, Justin Falk, and P.O. Joseph. And the goaltenders, obviously, Joel Hofer and Jordan Bennington. So right off the bat, some names that are missing. You can see at the bottom, Brandon Saad will not be on this road trip. This was well known, expecting the birth of his child any day now. His wife expected to go into labor soon, so he will not be on this road trip. Adam Irchek, the Blues' first round pick this year, I believe had suffered an injury during training camp, but he's going to be going back to junior hockey regardless. Torrey Krug will not play the season after his ankle surgery. Oscar Sundqvist, we do not know when he will be back from his torn ACL late last season. They don't expect it, from the sounds of it, they don't expect it to be too terribly long. My guess would be sometime around November we might be able to see Sundqvist back in action. And Simone Robertson had a very good camp. Good to see that he is still on the main roster, even though he will not be playing opening night. The big names that are left off, we knew Dalibor Dvorsky was going to make the team. Tyler Tucker was a guy that was probably going to get phased out, given the depth on defense that was added this year, specifically on the left side. He's probably the sixth option right now, behind a Leddy, behind a Broberg, behind a Perunovich, and behind a Suter and a P.O. Joseph. So there wasn't really a spot for him. He didn't have a very good camp, in my opinion. He had a couple tough moments, and I'm not surprised that he unfortunately will start the season in the AHL. Zach Dean was another guy that was really a fringe player, especially with the new faces being added. Really needed to step up in camp to be able to have a spot on opening night. It didn't quite do enough to really get there. The one that surprises me though is Zach Bolduc. He's not on the team right now for roster or for salary cap reasons, with Saad being on the non-roster list right now, being on paternity leave. It's tough to see. I like Bolduc. I was hoping to see him earn an everyday roster spot, but seeing some of the really good steps taken by guys like Texie in the top six, Dylan Holloway getting some time on the top line, Kasperi Kapanen having a really good camp by all accounts. He just kind of got lost in the sauce a little bit, and will start the season in the AHL. I can't imagine that one's going to be long. He's probably going to be the first guy to get an opportunity if someone struggles or gets hurt. So I'm sure we'll see Zach Bolduc here in a very short order. Trying to look at what the potential line combos might be. Drew Bannister in the last preseason game where most of the team really played in St. Louis because they sent mostly prospects to that preseason game in Milwaukee. But he mixed up the lines a little bit, and I really am fascinated with what he did. The big thing that surprised a lot of people was that he separated Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou, which I am a fan of. I think, there's times where their games really complement each other well, but there's times when they hit a snag. And I think splitting them up and having two really solid scoring lines, keeping them on the power play, of course, is a really good plan of attack. So looking at the lines that we'll probably see on opening night, I bet it'll be pretty similar to what we saw that preseason game, which means that on the top line will be Robert Thomas in the middle, Dylan Holloway probably on the left, Jake Neighbors on the right, which I like a lot. Dylan Holloway did a lot of really good things in the preseason, and I expect him to get off to a really big start. I think he wants to set the tone early. There's a lot that was said about him in Broberg, obviously, from Oilers fans about them getting tendered in restricted free agency. Really, he might be one of the guys I'm most excited to see this year. On the second line, it was Pavel Buchnevich centering Jordan Kyrou on the right, and Alexander Texier got some time on the second line, and he looked good as well. A lot of good things being said about what Texier did in camp, so I'm excited to see him continue on, and I think he's really earned that second line role for sure. On the third line is where it gets a little bit murky. I believe you're probably going to see a combination of Matthew Joseph and Braden Shen. Shen would probably center that line. And on the other wing would probably be a guy like either Kasperi Kapanen or maybe an Alexei Toropchenko. That's going to be the only one that I'm not too sure about. And then the fourth line, Radek Faksa will center. It'll be Kasperi Kapanen and Nathan Walker more than likely on the wings. I really have a good time looking at those lines. I think that's a very solid forward group. And, Seattle isn't exactly the best test to start out the season. Nothing against them, but they didn't have a very good year last year. They're bringing in a new head coach in Dan Bylsma. Lot to see with the Kraken. So kind of a good test for the Blues, but also you're not exactly going up against the Florida Panthers or anything like that. So really curious to see how they get on the ground to start the season. But looking at the defense pairs, these are pretty straightforward. It's going to be Leddy and Falk most likely as one of the top two pairings. The other top four is going to be Philip Broberg and Colton Parayko. And it sounds like it's going to be Ryan Suter getting the nod as the third left-handed defenseman with Matthew Kessel. Kessel is kind of an interesting one. I liked what he did last year, but it never really felt like he was fully tested for this third line position. It felt like it was always his to lose, which I'm sure you could if you really needed to. If he was struggling at some point, you could put a guy like Perunovich or P.O. Joseph on the right side and just make it work. So curious to see how he gets started, but I think a veteran pairmate in Ryan Suter will be a good get for him. And like I said, I like Kessel. I'm excited for him to start this season. I'm glad he's getting a full-time shot because he's a guy that's been waiting in the wings for a while and looked really promising last year, like I said. And obviously Jordan Binnington's going to be in goal. So expectations for the Blues, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if it's likely, but based on what they did this year, based on what I expect the players to be capable of, I expect this team to be in the playoffs. I'm going to say that. I know the Central Division is competitive. Dallas is really good. Nashville got really good. Colorado is still Colorado. Winnipeg, I think, is falling off. Utah is on the rise. You got the Blues. You got the Wild, who I don't know what to expect. I'm not too high on them this year. And then the Blackhawks are still a few years away. I think the Blues can get a wild card in the Western Conference. Not expecting you to get top three. I think those are pretty secure. Not Winnipeg, Dallas, Nashville, and Colorado. I don't know where Winnipeg ends up. Obviously, they had a great year last year, but the vibe I'm getting in Winnipeg, I'm not high on them at all this year. So can you get up to the fourth spot in the division, in which case you're absolutely a wild card? Can you get to the fifth? Can you stay in the fifth spot? And is that going to be enough? Because in the Pacific, you got really four playoff caliber teams, in my opinion. You've got the Oilers who are going to make it, the Canucks who should make it, the Golden Knights who should make it, and the Kings who are kind of a mystery. I think you can eclipse at least one of those teams and potentially make it to the playoffs. There is no reason why this team should be worse than they were last year. I'm going to be honest with you. Robert Thomas had a career year. I expect him to stay an 86-point guy. Jordan Kyrou had a down year points-wise. I expect him to pick that up a little bit. Pavel Buchnevich had a down year. I expect him to pick that up. I expect Philip Broberg to continue to make a good impression. I expect Colton Parayko to continue where he was last year. Nick Leddy and Justin Falk have good years. I expect them to turn it around a little bit because we've seen what they've been able to do. They both had really good moments as Blues, especially Justin Falk. He was the Blues' best defenseman in 22, at least. 23, he was really good. 21, he was really good. He can get back to that form. He just had a down year in 24. No reason why that has to be a reoccurrence. So I think the biggest question mark is, can Jordan Binnington sustain what he did last year too? And if not, can Joel Hofer also sustain it? They both had a 913. If both of your goalies are having a 913 save percentage, you got to make the playoffs. If they play the way they did last year, it is on the offense to start scoring goals. They've had issues putting the puck in the back of the net. You've got reinforcements now. No excuses. I really think this might be my Blues homer in me, but I fully expect them to be in the playoffs. I'm not seeing a lot of people say it. All the analytics, all the predictions, and everything like that don't like them. What I know about this team, what I've seen in this team, they should make it. Enough. We can't go 3 years in a row without a playoff spot. Something's got to change. I think they're going to dig in, and I think they're going to get the job done. So that's my thoughts on the Blues this year. We're going to be talking about them all season long. Really, really excited for this season. I cannot wait to continue talking about it with you guys. We have a hockey game to watch later tonight or later today. I cannot wait for it. Thank you guys for watching. Let's go Blues. We'll talk again soon.
This is the Harry Loomis Show.